Alright, hello YouTube. So it's actually been a really long time since my last video, but I actually just wanted to show you guys something. So I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard. There was recently an article published, well, not recently, it was published a couple of years ago, but it's just kind of hitting social media now. A woman by the name of Gemma Beale falsely accused about 15 men of raping her. These accusations were based on a gang rape. The point is that she actually falsely accused these 15 men of raping her to get an an ex-girlfriend or her ex-partner jealous. One person in particular who she accused spent 7 years in prison. Now, after the police finally did their due diligence, or after some time had passed, and apparently an ex-partner or one of her partners at some point came forward and told police that she had actually told them that she had made up these claims in order to receive compensation. And by the way, she was awarded $11,000 in compensation after she went to trial. It cost, I think, about 6,000 hours of police time and over $350,000 worth of taxpayer money for detectives and police officers to investigate this. So anyway, she was found out to be a liar. She falsely accused 15 men of rape. One of these men went to jail for 7 long years before he was finally exonerated. And she has just been sentenced to jail for, or not just, but she was sentenced to jail for 10 years in August 2017. And then when she tried to appeal her case, and her lawyers, tried to make up whatever defense that they tried to make up, largely based on the fact that, there was some prejudice against her given the media coverage that she received, she lost her appeal. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is, as a guy, as men, we're beginning to see more and more cases of innocent men who have gone to jail based on false allegations. Now, here's the thing. You would think to yourself, okay, wait a minute, randoms. If someone is going to falsely accuse someone else of rape or falsely accuse someone else of a crime, then there can't really be any evidence for it unless this person went out of their way to, I suppose, frame them. And that's my question. I think that's the question that a lot of us have. Let me open this up to see if there's any comments. That's the question that a lot of us have. Now that we know that she falsely accused 15 men of raping her, I don't really understand, where was the evidence in this court? Where was the evidence in this case? I don't get what happened there. Because, I mean, if you look at this, if someone is going to falsely make up a crime, it should mean that the police lack evidence to support that allegation. Despite the police obviously not having any evidence of that allegation, this guy still served 7 years in prison. Why? Because he just happened to be in the same area that she was in. So the man went to prison for 7 years just because he was in her vicinity. There was no other support, no other evidence that would prove that this guy did anything to her. But a lack of evidence is what resulted in him going to jail. Now, in the West, in most Western countries, there is this idea, this concept of innocent until proven guilty. It is clear that if you are a man, unless there is some sort of evidence that can prove your innocence, you are guilty until proven innocent. Unless you have some sort of an alibi or some sort of proof that you could not have been there when it happened, or you have a witness that says, no, that did not happen, you are going to be going to jail, potentially for 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, sometimes perhaps 25 years to life over a false accusation. And now I know what you guys are thinking. You guys might be thinking, anyone who's watching this might be thinking to themselves, hey, randoms, this happens kind of rarely. Well, let's look at another story here. A woman who told pack of lies about being abused by Asian grooming gang is jailed after beating her own face with a hammer. This is a woman who by the way who has been jailed now. So she was convicted and found guilty in a court of law. This is a woman, a 22-year-old woman who was jailed for 8.5 years after falsely claiming to be the victim of an Asian grooming gang. I'm not even sure what the fuck that means, or what the heck that means. But what she said was that she was raped several times. Her story was shared more than 100,000 times. She went so far. This is her, by the way. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's horrible. Like, someone clearly hurt this girl. No. She posted pictures of herself, but the court heard that she caused them to herself with a hammer. She did this to herself. She was so blatantly fixated on trying to make her lie as believable and palatable as possible. This is how far she went to lie. The court found that it is troubling, quote, it is troubling to say the least that she shows no significant signs of remorse. And it's the same one with this woman over here. This lady, no significant signs of remorse. Nothing. She didn't feel the least bit bad about what she had done. Now, why did I make this video? Well, I made this video because, like some of you guys, I sometimes check out different news channels, and I'm actually still subscribed to a couple more left-leaning channels, because on quite a few issues I'm kind of left-leaning myself. But I often find that when it comes to issues like this, a lot of these left-leaning channels, they ignore these things. They ignore these issues. They ignore these stories. Why? Because it doesn't fit with their narrative, their feminist narrative. So I wrote this to Majority Report on several of their videos, because I've seen how Sam and Emma and Matt, I believe, how they ridicule these kinds of stories, right? I wrote, I'm wondering if Majority Report will do a story on the woman who falsely accused 15 men of rape, this one in particular, and sent one of them to prison for 7 years after being found guilty and sentenced to 10 years in prison for her false allegations. It might be nice to hear their take on the judicial bias against men and a woman's ability to ruin a man's life with a simple lie. I added the link later after several people commented. But check this out. Asking the Majority Report to do a story on this. This is a BBC article. This is not like some sort of right-wing article or anything like that. Check out the replies I got on this, this left-leaning site. I got ha 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 silence incel from a Nicholas Time. I got a your life must be so sad. I hope someone gives you a much-needed hug since your father never did from a Diala. I got a you don't know what the word irrelevant means, do you? And I actually got two of these kinds of comments. I got this and I got being irrelevant doesn't help your cause. In other words, in order for these people to listen to someone, in order for these people to accept something as true, in order for them to even consider it, the deliverer or the messenger has to be some sort of celebrity. These are the viewers of the Majority Report. These are the viewers that you're going to find on left-leaning news platforms. The Moops over here wrote, yes, do some fear-mongering about how women can ruin your life for no reason by accusing you of rape, as if this is something that happens with any kind of frequency. Okay, we have two articles, one in this one. This is 2019. And this is 2023. And these are, like, here's the thing. I do think these things happen somewhat frequently, but whether they happen frequently or not, I don't understand. What is this criteria that we're building? That, hey, people's lives, innocent people's lives being ruined, we can't shed a spotlight on that at all simply because it doesn't happen enough? So we're going to wait until it gets significantly worse before we talk about it? Like, what the what is wrong with these people? Anyways, as if this is something that happens with any kind of frequency. False rape accusations are uncommon, not true. And false rape accusations that result in jail time are exceedingly rare, not true at all. Did you know that most reported rapes that did in fact happen don't result in convictions? Seems like this is much more of a pressing issue. And that's where it is right here. That's where it is right here. This is the issue with feminists. The issue with feminists They quite literally have an us versus them mentality. This idea of equality is complete fucking bullshit. Because any fucking person knows that in the judicial system, women have an enormous bias against men. This woman made a false accusation against a man, which means she didn't have any evidence for it. At least one of those 15 guys went to prison for 7 years despite her not having any evidence. So the idea of this is a much more pressing issue. So, okay, I'm so sorry, the moops. I apologize. We should not be talking about innocent people whose lives are ruined by false accusations. We should not be talking about the victimization of innocent men, some of whom don't even know these women, who are just picked randomly. Because, oh, there are women out there who do get raped. No one is saying women out there don't get raped. You know what? Cases like this, when they do come out and your insistence that we push it under the rug, really hurts authentic rape survivors. But I guess he's too stupid to realize that. Being irrelevant doesn't help your cause. This person right here, Nevermore Bouquet, the only person that said, hey, citation. Nothing bad. They just asked for a citation. Now, I personally don't know if there really is a hell or not, but I could think of nothing else to say other than, hey, you're hellbound. You know, Nicholas Time, you're hellbound. I understand this is funny to you, and I understand that this coming up, like imagine attacking somebody just because they are like, hey, well, what about this? Why don't you guys do a story on this? Imagine criticizing them and name calling them and going after them. Why? Because they did this story. Or just because I commented saying, hey, what about this? This is so screwed up. Like, I don't even really know what else to say here. Like, the only reason I made this video is because of these comments. Because I'm genuinely, like, I've seen this on social media before. You see the hate, you see the vitriol against anyone who dares say anything a feminist might dislike. But look at this. So anytime someone out there tells you, hey, feminism is about equality, tell them to shut up. Tell them that is not true, because I can promise you every single one of these clowns, except for, again, this person just asked for a citation, but I can promise you all these clowns that commented, ridiculing, laughing, whatever, at an innocent man going to jail for 7 years, every single one of these guys identifies as a feminist. Every single one of them identifies as a feminist. Feminism is not about equality. Feminism is about advancing the rights and advantages of women in society, and at times at the disadvantage and sacrifice of men. Because, as this clown says right here, as the Moop said, seems like there is a much more pressing issue, as in, seems like ignore any kind of male innocent victims and focus entirely on women, because that is what the feminist movement is all about. Focus on the women victims. Anything that might make men seem like victims, anything that might combat the narrative that we're being told, should be attacked. Anything that promotes real unity, anything that promotes any sort of specificity, any sort of, and I'm forgetting the word here, I don't know why I'm forgetting the word here, but any sort of distinguishing, you know, anything that isn't just a dichotomy of right and wrong, men and women, victim and, you know, perpetrator, victim and predator, that should not exist. This is disgusting.